And welcome back, everybody, to the Silent Hill Ascension post-show. I am Layla. I was here before, but the newcomer is Martin Montgomery, creative director. Martin, how are you?
I am good, Layla. How are you doing?
Well, you're here. I'm jazzed.
All right.
How else could I be? Well, as we get started, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah. So I'm the creative director on the project. I joined a little bit before the midway point on production, and I joined specifically to help out with the interactive narrative portion of the project. So I have a background coming from places like Telltale, where I worked on projects like The Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands. And so I'm really bringing some expertise on how to tell an interactive story, especially one of this scale, which is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like interactive story and scale are pretty good foreshadowing.
They are very good friends. They are very good friends.
Well, hey, let's get started with our wonderful questions that we have prepared for you. We'll start with some easy ones, which is, hey, Martin, aside from working with me, what excites you the most about working on Silent Hill Ascension?
Well, you took my first answer, Layla, but if I had to come with a distant second, no, I think the first one for me is, it's really an honor to get to work on a franchise like this that is so loved by people. So, that was definitely the first part of it. And then two, I mentioned scale, but this is really the largest kind of storytelling project that I've gotten to be a part of, just in terms of scope. And so that's been a really fun challenge to work with.
Yeah, it's quite massive. I always like telling people that when I found out what franchise I was working on when I got hired here, it took like 6 hours to sink in. It really is quite a lot. How do you approach a narrative? Speaking of scope, how do you approach a narrative for an experience lasting multiple months, as Ascension does?
Oh my gosh. So this project has a lot of really unique challenges in terms of the franchise itself, because this is the largest sort of storytelling project within this IP, right? So, a large portion of the games, right, is you're running around exploring the town by yourself. So you're doing a lot of that environmental storytelling, whereas we are like telling a narrative from end to end, over like 6 to 8 months. So just in terms of the amount of story we're telling is really big. And then I think the format is really crazy and bizarre. When I joined, we kind of had a new format that they wanted us to try to tell within this, and that brings a lot of challenges. So for example, at Telltale, I could introduce a new decision and have it pay off within the same scene. And because this allows audiences to kind of vote on things if you're not live, we have to really structure the story around that format, which makes it really challenging, right? So we might introduce a problem that's going to resolve in like 4 days, but we can't just put that character on ice. We need to keep telling more stories. So it's really a challenge to write a story in this space, for sure.
Yeah, I think some of the characters definitely wish they could be put on ice for those couple of days, but not from us.
Definitely.
So how do you you got a little bit into the format there. How do you plan writing a story for this particular new format of interactive narrative?
Structure. So structure is important in any storytelling space, but particularly in interactive, you really need to kind of map out what you're doing, because it gets really complicated. Our audiences are, I wish they could get a peek at some of the QA process for how we actually have to test all of the branches that go into this. So that testing and having good documentation is really, really important for mapping out a story like this.
Yeah, for sure, Aziz. As somebody who's been there for a lot of that's been a huge part of the pipeline.
I think I've given you a few heart attacks along the way in terms of you seeing what we're proposing for the production side of things.
And you know what, Martin? I just love you so much that I forgive you.
Okay.
I forgive you for all you've done to me.
This is recorded, so I have proof now, so we're good.
Yeah,
so.
And then it's fine. I've made peace with it. I think we're okay.
All right.
Ones for you, which starting off quick, who is your favorite Silent Hill Ascension monster?
I gotta say it's the Collector. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan, and it looks like a phase 1 of a 3-part Dark Souls boss fight, so I'm a big fan of it personally. So yeah, that's my favorite probably.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like if it were in Dark Souls, there would be something else lurking there. Who is your favorite character?
Oh man, I'm Team Toby all the way. So, as someone that got to do some writing on the project, I think Toby was the most fun to write for me personally. I had someone give me some good writing advice a while back, which was like, don't be afraid to beat up your characters. And I just feel like Toby keeps getting put through the ringer, and I don't know, it just makes you want to root for him more, right? So I'm super Team Toby myself.
Me and you both. What has been your favorite story moment from the weeks of content that we've aired so far?
I think keeping in line with sort of the Toby storyline stuff. I was a big fan when we sort of got to see the convergence of his and Rachel's storyline a bit when he goes to the Foundation and chucks a Molotov cocktail in there is really fun. Yeah, I mean, something that we explored back at Telltale was when you are being able to role play multiple characters. It's really cool, I think, when those paths start to intersect. And so those are my favorite parts in the stories. When you see pieces like converge like that is really fun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there's definitely more of those moments coming. Still can't talk from the pre-show. Now, Martin, I do believe you have brought us one of the lesser heart attacks you inflicted on me during production.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we can take a look at that when it pops up here, which will be fun.
All right, production, all you. Ah, there she is.
Is this giving you flashbacks?
It's so small on my screen right now that I think I'm okay.
Oh man. Yeah, so you're probably asking, what the heck are we looking at? This is a screenshot of one of our tools that shows the branching in one of our scenes, right? So this has a number of different callbacks that take you down various branches, and then there's multiple endings on it as well. So this is a pretty beefy, branchy scene, which is a lot of fun, but it makes my producer sad when I show them things like this.
Yeah, it takes some time to recover, but it's okay. But hey, Martin, we can see here, I think that this is one scene and it ends. There's 5 different kind of ending nodes that it can land in, but there's a lot more going on in the middle. So what exactly is making each of these branches distinct?
Yeah, so when you're planning out a story like this, we're kind of thinking about payoffs kind of in 2 big bucketed ways. One is through what you'd expect, through like big ending changes, right? But then others are through emotional changes in characters, right? Like when big character relationships shift. So an example that I kind of use off the cuff a lot of times is, let's say that a character is going to a wedding and you've been role playing with a character that is maybe going to be your best man. And when you get to the ceremony, that character's either there or not there based off of how you role played with them. And that really changes the tone of the scene and kind of puts a bittersweet twist on what's happening with that. So that would be maybe one where we'd kind of show like the payoff of like a shift in character relationship. And then, obviously like a big payoff for that scene would be, let's say you're going to say no at the altar. Well, that like could really change how you get out of that scene in terms of what the ending is, right? So those are kind of like offhand kind of 2 ways that we think a lot about the way we handle branching and stuff.
Yeah, as a connoisseur of a certain marriage-based reality television program, the mood certainly does change depending on what happens at that altar. But hey, speaking, just going down a little bit further down this path, where do you look for opportunities to like insert those meaningful branches? Like, where do you see a moment where like, oh, this could be a good split for tone
Mm-hmm.
for story?
Yeah, so one of the things that you'll look at when you're looking at more linear media, like a TV show or film, is you're looking for where characters are making choices in the story, right? So when a character makes a big choice in the story, it's often revealing something about where they are on their character journey. So a great example would be like Walter White from Breaking Bad. Like the first time that he dons the Heisenberg hat, like that's a big moment, a big choice that character's made that shows us where he is on that journey. So a lot of times when you are trying to write or design for interactive, those are really good places and moments to let the audience decide what they want to do in that moment, right, and help drive that. So that's there's a bunch of different ways, but that's usually a big place that I'm thinking about is, as I talked about earlier, structure. When you are planning out how you want those characters to change, you're also in interactive and thinking about the possibility space for the audience. How do they want to role play that character? And so you have to really be trying to pay attention and honor that through the narrative design.
Yeah, and something, for folks in the audience who maybe aren't like into the nitty gritty of game development also is like, you'll often see, if you look at credits for games that you like, there's writers and there's narrative designers. Like, part of that is there's a whole career track dedicated to structure. It's a huge part of interactive writing. So
a good way to think about it too is the writer is is generally the advocate for the story, and narrative designers are the advocate for the players. So that's often the way that we kind of talk about those things.
Yeah, some delicious tension there, which always makes a creative project go by faster. Well, Martin, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to me and the audience today. It's been a delight to see you, even though I get the pleasure of seeing you all day. I believe we're just gonna go over the run of show one last time before I let everybody go. Just a reminder for folks, the hosted show is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:40 p.m. Pacific. The show is on every day at 6 o'clock Pacific, and then the post show happens whenever the Endure goes, whichever way it tends to go. So thank you all so very, very much for your time, and we will see you all when we come back on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you.